So, as I think about my life and what ultimately led me to the sanctuary was throughout my really adult life, I've had anxiety. And, to the outside world looking in, I really didn't drink or do drugs, but I suffered from anxiety. And professionally, my friends never knew it. My business colleagues didn't know it. They saw me as this well put together professional. But in my personal life, I was struggling. And on the inside, I was suffering. And I can say that anxiety in and of itself has cost me experiences. It's cost me opportunities in my personal life. And ultimately, it cost me the love of my life, which led me to a point that I need to address anxiety. And I need to address it at this point in my life. As I think about losing the love of my life, it was a long-term relationship. There were many aspects of that I didn't address. There were opportunities for me to address. I thought I was doing that, but I wasn't. And ultimately, I left the relationship because the feeling of anxiety, something bad's going to happen, and I couldn't control that, and I didn't understand. And for me, that was particularly tough because I'm a smart guy, I'm an alpha guy, I've got pride, I'm stubborn, I've got ego. Well, if I have all that, then why am I suffering on the inside? And I was suffering on the inside. I was waking up with panic attacks. I have a thing I measure called an anxiety motor. My anxiety motor, 10 being a panic attack and 1 being totally calm. I would wake up at a 5, hypervigilant, 6, 7, 8. And it would just get tough throughout the day. And I would fake it. I'm a pretty good actor. So during the business day, the world never knew. I could laugh, I could joke, I could get through the business day, but inside I was suffering. I was quite empty because I really wasn't the true, authentic me, and that was lost in me. I didn't really have the me, the soul in me that I needed in order to be able to talk about that. And ultimately, the acknowledgement that I had lost the love of my life put me at a point of having panic attacks over and over throughout different days that I had to address it. And that's where I found the sanctuary as a place that I could address it, heal, and find my true authentic self. I made the appointment, I talked to the folks here at the sanctuary, super excited to get here, flew to Phoenix, came up to Sedona, wonderful place, great resort, chef's food, a lot of individual clinicians, group therapy, all the things that we think about from the outside world that this is going to be a wonderful place. And then I saw other parts of the sanctuary I just wasn't familiar with. Things around spiritualness, things around energy workers, things that are really more three-dimensional that someone like me, who comes from a science world of, the 5 senses, see it, feel it, touch it, smell it. If I can't do that, then that doesn't exist. And in that moment, as I was here, I saw that, and I looked at it and said, oh no, this is not for me. And I panicked, and I left. And the reality of that was really me with my anxiety controlling me, the fight or flee aspect of anxiety. And what did I do? I fled. I returned back to my home. It was not 48 hours later, I woke up in my same state. Waking up, not just hypervigilant, but waking up in panic attacks. Waking up in a way that I knew I needed help. And that's when I reached back out to the sanctuary. Can I come? And the team here was more than welcoming. And when I arrived the second time, I elected to lean in, to surrender, to give into the entire program, because it was at that moment I was at my lowest related to anxiety. I think of the sanctuary and I will say my second tour here, because I was here previously for just a small bit of time to sample it. I came back with a viewpoint of I'm going all in. And I would say that's step one. Step one is to lean in and experience all aspects of it. So as I arrived here, it's a 30-day program. Day one, I was focused on lean in, get to day two. Day two led to day three. I worked with clinicians, therapists. I leaned into the energy work. As a part of the energy work, I said, I want to open my mind to everything that I say is three-dimensional. I had just said previously, I'm a science person. See it, feel it, touch it, smell it, those types of things is very tangible. I believe now there's an intangible aspect to this. And we all have an intangible aspect around us. We may be aware of it, we may be not. I've learned to call that an energy field, but here's what it is. You can be a religious person, it's your God. It can be any aspect of what you believe. I often call it, from the world of science, the something. And that can be whatever you want to believe in. It can be an angel that's helping you from heaven, a loved one that's passed on that's looking down on you. But what it really means is you've got extra help around you. You've got to get in touch with that. And there are many ways to do that. And I believe the sanctuary, that's the difference maker for the sanctuary over any other traditional mainstream rehab center. What it brought was the something and the intangible aspect. And I think the best way I can lay that out is to think of what I came here for was to get me back, which I learned over my time was check with me, which is within me what that is. Well, scientific-wise, that's your soul. And everybody has a different definition of the soul. And it could be, oh, you know, it's kind of out there, but it's not. It's who you really are on the inside, your heart, who you are, and how that connects to the something. And again, it's whoever you think it is, God, an angel, whoever it is, and how that expands around, and it becomes three-dimensional at that point. And once you get in touch with that, there are things that come to you that are often called synchronicities that help you throughout the process. It gives you clarity. It gives you opportunity. It gives you a space to clear your mind. I often say get out of your own head and work through issues, and you lean into it. But that is one of the key tenets of what I accomplished here that led me to what I say is I found my true authentic self, which was my goal when I got here. I would say, someone like me, am I a spiritual guy? At this juncture, yes. Because of the things I experienced here that helped me. Outside looking in on day one, I would have thought absolutely not. As I sit here at the end of my journey, absolutely yes. There were unique things that happened with me with trauma from anxiety from previous days in my life that I was able to resolve and have conversations through dreams, through breath work, through scientifically proven exercises that brings you back to work on what we call the subconscious of your mind that drives us. And those are the aspects that brought me peace, they brought me calm, and I can say with confidence, my anxiety motor runs at a 1, which is exactly what I was looking for and how happy I am leaving here. And I thank the sanctuary for giving me those skills and helping me get there. And even as I speak here, I think there are those that are skeptical, unsure, you know, something's not right there. I can't connect to that. And the first time I was here for a very short period, that was me. The second time, I said, you know what, I'm going to lean in. Because we all want to grow. Because that's really what we're here for, right? We want to get anxiety out of our lives, the issues that we deal with. Learn to grow, which means learn to lean in, which means learn to experience it all. It's a full experience. As I think of this, there's really the value of the sanctuary isn't just day 1, day 2, get to day 3 and everything else. It's a wonderful place with all the physical aspects of a wonderful gym, chef's meals. The sanctuary goes above and beyond working on your mind. It works on the body. That's why the diets and the food is the way it is. It gets inflammation out of your body. I always thought I was very well physically fit. And then I arrived here, and ultimately the inflammation left my body. I slept so well. I ended up losing 7 pounds, which ended up being all fat, which worked very well for me. But I would say ultimately for somebody who's feeling skeptical, lean in. Take a chance. That's what I did, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. You know, when I arrived here, there were 11 other clients, which is another unique value of the sanctuary. You're not in a room with 50 people doing group therapy throughout the day. It's limited to 11. It's a small audience. Everyone connects together, and it's across the board. Everybody has trauma, but it's many forms. You know, in my case, it was anxiety in general from a childhood trauma. There were others here that just had PTSD. There were those here that had addiction related to drinking or drugs or other aspects of it. But at the end of the day, we all had one thing in common. We had trauma in our lives. But there are different varying levels of how we arrived here and coping mechanisms. What I learned in working one-on-one and communicating with what we call the tribe, the other, I call them team members as well, is very unique stories and how they learn to cope. I learned to cope by working a lot, which was good, but it was my way of doing it. Others do it through drugs, through alcohol, maybe even sex, other things that allow them to divert their mind. What it also brought me was an opportunity to be around those that in the, I call it the day-to-day life, I would have never experienced. I would have never gotten a chance to meet them and to hear their stories. I learned so much from them and how they arrived at their point in their life and the things they dealt with. So it gave me an opportunity to really see the world through the eyes of those other clients that I was with here. And it brought me so much more joy because here's the one thing I learned. I wasn't unique. They all had the same things I had, just a bit of different coping mechanisms, and we had that in common. So as I think about leaving the sanctuary, to go back to my life, the big takeaway for me, I found my true authentic self and what that means. I found my soul, me, how it connects to the broader universe, the three-dimensional aspect of it, besides the tangible things that we knew before we arrived here. And as I interact with others in my personal life, how those relationships are important to me from an equal aspect, not a what I could do for them, because that seems to be a draw in some cases for anxiety. And the way I think about that is check with me. How do I feel about something? What I learned out of all of this, and the number one thing I got out of it, was love for myself first. I'm the only one in the circle. Everybody else are important people in your life, but if you don't love yourself first, you really aren't going to have a successful, happy life and do all the things you'll want to do without that.